Friday night, I came down here so that I could visit with leaders from all over the county, and we had a big group down there in my congressional office. And of all of the statements that were made, one young lady that hadn't said anything all evening when we went around the room and kind of summarized it, she said something that really came through. One young Negro man in the group had said his youngster was only 2 years old, and he said he didn't like the schools in his district where he lived. And he said, when my child at 2 gets old enough, I want him to bus and go across town. Said, I just don't like the schools in my district. And when it came her time, the lady said, you know, if the schools are no good in your district, why should my child be sent to that school? And it gets back to the basic issue. What's wrong with the school? I've checked this busing now for 10 years that they've had it, and there hasn't been a single place in America that has improved education.
The Fort Worth School Board has a deadline of this Friday to come up with a new desegregation plan for the school system. U.S. District Judge Leo Brewster set the deadline last week and said outside educators would be called in to mold a new plan if the school board does not come up with a satisfactory desegregation scheme. A plan submitted by School Superintendent Julius Trulson last week was rejected by the board. The trustees will meet again tomorrow afternoon to consider another desegregation plan, which is said to be even more broad, involving more clustering of schools and the objectionable forced busing. If a plan is adopted tomorrow, or as late as Tuesday, it will probably be submitted to Judge Leo Brewster Thursday, only one day before the deadline set. This is Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
I presented an inquiry resolution which will come up within 2 weeks. It's a very difficult resolution to have accepted in Congress, and we'll get a parliamentary decision on it this week. What we're trying to do is to get HEW to define where they have federal cases of busing and what the policy of HEW is, just to give us their factual presentation. There's only been 2 of these inquiries that have been handed out. I have high hopes that they will rule on it, which will force HEW to make a positive statement.
Well, now, when and if you get this positive statement from HEW, where do you go from there?
Well, it'll come to the floor of the Congress, and within 2 weeks we would be able to bring it to a floor vote, which would be important in several respects, but one thing it means is that Congress will speak as to how they feel about busing. You know, the law that we passed in the last Federal Education Act was very specific. It said that no money shall be provided for school busing in order to achieve racial balance. That's in the last federal appropriation. It couldn't be more definite as to how Congress has ruled.
And you're trying to find out now whether HEW is in fact using some money for busing?
This is what we've asked for in this inquiry statement, because the issue is very plain, and they're not allowed to do it. And if they are doing it, they're going beyond the law themselves.
They're going to be more responsive. You see, politicians don't understand anything as well as they understand votes. They can understand it, believe me, because it's either political life or political death for them. I think that's a trait of our youngsters. They don't believe in hypocrisy. They want a straight answer. They want a yes or a no. And I think they're going to work for a yes or no, and they're going to work for or against candidates. And that's good. That's what our whole system is all about.
Well, will it change the system, though?
No, well, it will change in that it will make the officials more responsive. It will let them see that here's a strong group that is voicing needs, and if you don't fulfill those needs, they're going to elect someone else that will.
Well, I'm, of course, very excited about it. This is probably the most critical year in my, athletic career. And as far as the chance of being a starting quarterback, this is what I'm gearing myself for, and I won't be, again, satisfied for anything less than that.
You've been working out with Roger and Craig. What shape are they in as they go to camp?
They both look excellent. Craig's arm seemed to be recovered. He can throw accurate, close, and long. It's very strong. Roger, of course, has always been in top shape.
How about Dave Manders? What kind of year do you think he'll have?
It better be a good one. I'm getting too old for a bad year.
Janice, could you recall your thoughts of last night when the 4 of the 5 finalists had been called and you had yet to be called?
Just sheer hope. It was really a desperate feeling, sort of, for the first 4 to be called. Because last year, when they called out the top 5, Phyllis was first, and I was second. And I wasn't ready to wait till the end, And I was beginning to condition myself to not make the top 5. I said, well, kid, you're not going to make it. But when they called out the 5th one, I was really happy.
How do you feel this morning?
Fantastic. That's my word for the week.
Tell us about the reception last night afterwards and what some of the other contestants said to you.
This was, I think, the best part about the whole pageant was that I felt like the other contestants really were happy for me. And they were glad that I won, and this was what made me feel better than anything else.
Now, you and Miss America are sorority sisters. You had quite a conversation right after the event last night. What were you talking about?
She just said, we're going to have a good time in Atlantic City, baby.
Last year, she took a crab to Atlantic City. Or do you have anything special that you're going to take?
We had discussed it, and my sign is Capricorn, and Peggy, the chaperone, said we couldn't take a goat.
Hello, Peggy.